The salute to the king is something we've been hearing many times this season. And I'm going to make the assumption of where you got the nickname the king, but I want you to tell me, how did you get the nickname the king?
Well, I think it probably came mostly from the first King's Royal, probably, I would say. And actually won the first World of Outlaw Championship, or first couple World of Outlaw Championships. And then the Earl Ball come up with the King's Royal, and then somebody started saying King Kinser, and it just sort of stuck from there, and it's been there ever since.
You've been here since the beginning in 1978, 36 years with the World of Outlaws. What made you decide that this year was going to be your last year?
Well, your body starts telling you it's time, and I'm in my 60s now, and it's I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping weight off and doing things, and just to do things right, and being where they need to be, and these cars, these are short races, and you got to get up in these things, you got to run these things on the edge at all times, and I don't know if I do that all the time like I do. Sometimes you feel in your mind you are, but deep down you're not getting what you need to get out of the race car, and I get some other things I want to do also, and I really wasn't going to just quit racing. I just thought I would maybe run a limited schedule this year, and talking with Tony and Dana, my wife, we decided, or they decided, I guess, that I was along with it. We would make one last full tour, and then maybe if we wanted to do a limited schedule, we'd do it next year. So that's sort of where it came about.
Well, starting out, you actually grew up watching your father race, as most young men do, and you got your start at the tracks around Indiana. But when you graduated high school, you actually wrestled in high school, and you traded your wrestling uniform in for a driver's suit. Why did you decide to go that route?
Well, I always wanted to drive a race car. That's all I ever did. That was my thoughts before I was ever even started school. I wanted to watch my dad growing up in my early years. I guess from 4 or 5 years old, but I can remember him until all through school, and watching him and going to races, and just sort of got in my blood, and it never was going to get out. And, I think the first time I went to the first grade, they asked what I was going to do, and I just said I was going to be a race driver.
You were so successful right off the bat. Do you think that's something that some people are just born with a natural talent, or you get better with time?
Well, there's a lot of things. Back when I started racing, it wasn't quite like it, the young kids didn't, they've been racing since they're 4 or 5 years old in some kind of competition, and I never did have that opportunity. So it was basically hard for, back in the mid-'70s for younger guys to get the opportunity to get in very good race cars and things like that. And, so I had a little bit of trouble getting started, but with some help from Jerry Shields and Bob Thompson, local guys had local cars that gave me a chance to run their cars, and then we got hooked up with Carl Kinser, which probably had one of the fastest race cars in the United States at that time. Not a lot of people knew it back then, but I was quite aware of it. And once we got in that car, Carl is there's probably none any better than he is about setting a race car up and working as hard as he does. And anybody got in his race cars that I seen around local and stuff ran good, no matter who was in them.
You talk about Carl Kinser, who's a distant cousin of yours. You guys paired up the first year the World of Outlaws started going on tour, when Ted Johnson created the series. You guys won 39 races and the first of many championships. What clicked with you guys? Well,
I don't know if it was really you guys or not. I think I just think, which we did have a great relationship, but Carl was he got me in the prime of my career when I was young, and just whenever I'd been working out my whole life and wrestling and things like that, and in good shape, and been around racing, and knew a lot about racing by watching it, and it just to get in that good of equipment and stuff, it was pretty hard to beat for a lot of years.
Back then, we saw a rivalry between you, Doug Wolfgang, and Sammy Swindell called the Big Three. Describe your guys' rivalry and the level of competition that you guys had with one another.
It was great competition. It was a lot of fun. It was not only fun for us, but it was fun for the race fans too. You had your Doug Wolfgang fans, you had your Sammy Swindell fans, you had your Steve Kinser fans. And between the three of us, or for a number of years, we pretty well dominated the World of Outlaws.
You definitely did, and that domination grabbed the attention of the IROC series, and you ran with them a couple times, and your third race ever you won at Talladega Speedway. What is that like, having that prestigious of a win on your resume?
Well, it was a big thrill for me. It was a track that probably one of the only tracks, or either that or Daytona, that I was going to have a chance to probably win an IROC race. It's a track you can get out and run pretty hard and do some drafting and things. So you wasn't going to go to Darlington or something like that. Not no more pavement experience. I had not run hardly any pavement or anything and win a race, but we did run really good on the speedways and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
Sometimes we hear people say that the dirt kind of makes you sharp. Do you think having that experience on dirt helped you when you made that transition over to asphalt?
Well, I don't really know. Asphalt, you also got to be smooth, and some of the stuff that probably would have hurt me. But the only time I ran really the pavement tracks, I was already 45 years old before I started doing any of that. So it was tough. But I've had the opportunity to run every type of race car there is: Indy cars, stock cars, not any late model stock cars on dirt or anything like that. But there's nothing. A sprint car is just an animal of its own. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of horsepower, keeps you busy. Like I said, you're not out there for very long, but it can get you get out in the middle of the summer and stuff, and those things can beat you around a little bit.
You talk about stock cars. Well, after winning 14 World of Outlaw Championships, you actually signed with what was then the Winston Cup Series. Trained all winter, got everything ready, but it didn't last very long, and you actually went back to sprint cars. What made you go back to sprint cars and leave that series?
Well, that was probably a mistake on my part. Back then I felt I was coming pretty close to the end of my sprint car career. At 45, and it was a mistake on my part and Kenny's fault. We just sort of thought we could maybe get together and make it click here one year, we went to did some testing and ran 3 races, I think, maybe 4, and it just seemed it was going to be a struggle. For me to do it, I needed to start somewhere in my 20s and probably anyways, or 30s at the best. And it was nothing I regret doing, but it was maybe just sort of a mistake on me and Kenny's part both.
Well, when you got back in, Scott Gherkin, who is still with you today, came back on board, and you guys won the historic Big E in your 5th Knoxville consecutive Nationals. Did that feel good, being able to not miss a beat when you came right back to sprint cars?
Yeah, it did. We ran really well. We were, I think of '94, we put the team together and we've ran, a little bit, not too great the last couple of years, but up until then we've been right in the hunt all the time.
Steve, you continue your record-breaking success, capturing your 500th win in 2004 and winning your 20th World of Outlaw Championship in 2005. Did you ever imagine, starting out at the local dirt tracks in Indiana, you would have those numbers, you would be making history?
Well, I always thought that if the opportunity came, that I definitely had been around racing enough and knew enough about it, and wanted to do it as I know nobody else wanted to do it as bad as I did, or I'm sure there is people, but I always thought that I was capable of doing it, getting in the right equipment and the right people, and like I said, I've been awful fortunate to be able to drive for not very many different people, counting Carl Kinser and my own race team, and now Tony Stewart Racing. It's 3 race cars basically, other than a few before earlier. But and had Scott Gherkin with me, who just did a great job. We've just had a good relationship with whoever we raced with. So it's probably been one of my biggest accomplishments to know we've been on sort of top of the sport for 3 decades.
We sit here now 3 decades later, actually 36 years, and this is your last official year touring the full tour with the World of Outlaws. How has this year been emotionally for you and your family?
Well, it's my family loves racing as well as I do. Dana come around out of a racing family also. With her dad, used to race sprint cars and midgets up around the Wisconsin area, and then her brother has won a couple Indy 500s as a crew chief, and so she's come out of racing, so she loves it as much as I do. and my kids have grown up, and you know, I wanted to see all my grandkids get big enough to be able to watch me race, and they have two of them. Has my youngest one probably won't be able to remember any of it, and Haley will be sort of on borderlines, but it's it's you know, when you start having grandkids and a race driver and the ages are, you know, it's you're getting up there in time. It's a matter of years, no matter what you do.
You talk about your family. Your son Craig races, your daughter Stevie. I've seen her get in hands-on with a race car, lift up race cars, do everything. Her husband is Craig's crew chief, and you have two young grandchildren now running around, and your wife works your t-shirt trailer, and you have family friends that are, you know, so close to you guys. What does it mean to have them with you at all times and see your grandkids, you know, clapping for you and cheering for you?
Well, that's a fun part of it. That was a fun part of me raising my family. My kids went up and down to motorhomes with me and all across the country and to Australia and overseas with me. You know, my youngest son never really got into racing quite as much as Craig and Stevie has, and I don't know where Stevie went from being going through school and being a cheerleader and all once getting down working on race cars and doing that. It was quite a change, but she also loves the racing, and so that's going to be the tough part about it is for me is if I don't race, they like going to the races as well as I do. So, but they'll be able to continue with Craig.
How are you going to handle that? You've known this for your whole life, going to the track week in and week out. How are you going to handle that adjusting?
Oh, it's a tough situation for any race driver that that's, you know, had a good career racing, or even any kind of a career racing that's done it for quite some time, to know they got to quit it. You know, there's nothing out there that's more exciting than as a race team as to go out and get that checker and win that race. I mean, still gives you that best high you can ever have. I mean, when you pull out of the racetrack and you've won that race, there's not a feeling in the world that's going to be better until the next time you race.
You talk about the highs, but you have had lows in your career. How have you overcome the lows and stayed so focused and stayed on top?
Well, you know, we had some, you know, we won just about everything through 78, 79, 80, 81, and then we stumbled a little bit in 82 and 83. The best I remember, I might have the years off a little bit. But other than that, there were 2 years, you know, we had a lot of motor problems and some different things that didn't allow us to run as good as we had been. And then we got right back on pace. And I think in 87 there, one year we won like 58 races, so won almost everything it was. So it's hard to say when you've had a bad night. You get used to being up front all the time, and then as you get older and stuff, to just see yourself sort of not where you need to be and things. It's a tough situation.
In 5 to 10 years from now, how do you want people to remember Steve Kinser?
Well, I've worked really hard over the years to try to make everybody out there love sprint car racing as much as I do, the race fans and everybody else. And you know, my dad asked me when I first started racing if I would do one thing for him, is that to be take time to spend a lot of time with the race fans, and I tried to do that through my career just because I enjoy it, and because he asked me to do it too.
Always got to listen to your father. So do you have any plans for retirement?
No, I have none whatsoever. You know, I don't know. I might, you know, with TSR, we've talked about running, you know, some limited races. But and I'll go out there and try. I will go out there and try. But if I don't get back after we leave here and you know, knock a few pounds off, and if I don't have the ambition to go out there and try to do that, then I don't need to be on the racetrack anyways.
Well, Steve, many race fans, you've earned the respect of other drivers, the officials, everybody you've ever raced with, and we thank you for all the memories, and we want to thank you for being with us here today.
Well, I appreciate it, and you know, like I said, this is a great family sport, and I love it. And it's going to be a tough thing for me to give up to, but I'm sure I'll survive.
Well, we'll miss you.
Well, I'll miss everybody myself.
Darren, you're the 2013 World of Outlaw champion, your first year at Casey Kane Racing, winning them their first championship. Let's rewind back to the end of the 2012 season, September-ish. Did you have anything planned for the 2013 season yet, or were you just hoping that maybe something would come about?
No, I was hoping something was going to come about, but it was still pretty early at that point. But Mike Hefner, who I was driving for at the time, I'd been with him for 2.5 years at 27, was a great guy. Still talk to him quite a bit now, and every once in a while he'd hint towards what we were going to do the next year, and I did a pretty good job, I felt like, of just kind of just putting it off, you know, and he understood. He knew what my goals were. I didn't hide that from him. But I was fortunate in 2012 that, you know, Casey actually called me before, you know, our season was over yet. So we still probably had a good month and a half or 2 months of racing left to go in 2012. And I pretty much already knew of my, you know, decision and what we were going to do in 2013. So it worked out great. I couldn't have been more excited to get the phone call from Casey to be back on the road. Besides telling my wife and my family, Mike was definitely my third phone call. And the same day that Casey called, I called him and just wanted to be upfront with him about it and tell him. And, you know, I felt like I took a risk of him, you know, firing me right then before our season was over, which was, you know, happens a lot and understandably. But he, you know, I remember that phone call because he was, I think he was almost as excited as I was.
At the start of the 2013 season, new crew chief, new car, new everything for you. Did you think realistically you could win a championship being off the road for so long?
No. You know, I'd love to tell you I did, but I really didn't. You know, I was nervous. I was extremely nervous. You know, it was a dream come true opportunity. You know, one that, you know, I'd been begging for 4 years to get the opportunity to get back out on the road, but then to do it with, you know, a team that, you know, had been battling for a championship really the last 3, 4, 5 years. You know, it was exciting, but yet a lot of pressure came along with that. You know, all you heard was, how am I going to replace the former driver that was there? And trust me, those thoughts ran through my head also. So it was exciting, but nerve-wracking, and I just felt like it might take us a little while. I knew that the people that were there were right. I knew that we would get there, you know, eventually, but I didn't expect for us to start as strong as we did.
Darren, you've been racing your whole life, and drivers work their whole career in hopes of winning a World of Outlaw championship. You've done it at 36 years old. What advice would you give to young kids growing up, and how would you suggest that they get to where you are?
I'm only 35, first off.
Well, my bad. I can't do math
then. My advice is just do it right. You know, I mean, I think that's one thing that my dad mainly just always instilled in me, that no matter what, whether or not it was quarter midget racing or how, you know, unimportant it seemed like at the time, it was just, you know, do it right, because you don't know who's watching you. And I think, you know, so many young kids today have a vision of they want to do it different and they want to do it their own way. And I just, you know, you just need to treat people the right way, be very appreciative of the opportunities, what little help somebody may give you. And, you know, in my case, it worked exactly how, you know, you always hoped or dreamed it would. It was always the next opportunity that led to the next one. And you never know who's watching and what opportunity or what position that you're putting yourself in that may open up a door that, you know, takes you where you need to go.
Well, sitting here with you, Darren, looking around the shop, it seems after speaking with you, you've got what you would call your dream job. But we want to wish you the best of luck in 2014 and with the rest of your career. Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it.